To be the best, you have to beat the best. And for the number 14 Indiana Hoosiers, the recent road, well, it hasn't been super easy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the IUSTV Sports Basketball Pregame Show. I'm Evan Kamikow, joined by Hank Joseph and Josh Bode. Coming up later today, we're going to have highlights from 2 games, and we'll hear from Indiana head coach Mike Woodson. But guys, what a weekend do we have ahead of us, Josh?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Allen Fieldhouse is one of the best environments in all of college basketball. I can't wait to be there.
And I can't wait to spend 16 hours in the car with the both of you, only to be at Kansas for about 12.
And do we have any good songs, or should we just not disclose our pregame playlist?
How about we all come in with one playlist, and then whoever gets tired of each one, then we'll just switch it off.
Well, guys, before we dive into anything, let's take a trip down memory lane and fly out to Las Vegas for IU versus Arizona. And man, what a game this was. And what killed Indiana was the Bearcats' ability to control the paint. Here's Azuolas Tubelis bullies Race Thompson for the easy bucket. Yeah, he had a monster game. And then his front court mate Omar Ballo goes up and over. TJD says thank you. And the two of them combined for 36 of Arizona's 89 points. But some good things for the Hoosiers, specifically Race Thompson behind the arc. He hit 4 3-pointers to finish with 16 to lead the Hoosiers. Then Xavier Johnson, a good game sharing the ball here. He finds Tamar Bates for the 3 to bring Indiana within 3. Bates had 13, helping the Hoosiers shoot 40% from behind the arc. But it wouldn't be enough as Arizona pulled away for the 89-75 victory, thanks to those two guys right there. And Josh, Hank, let's just start off with, what was the biggest issue that stood out to you in this Indiana-Arizona game?
I think it was the front court. Arizona's front court with Tubelis and Ballo dominated Trace and Race inside, especially on the defensive end. Trace and Race could get nothing started inside offensively, and Tubelis and Ballo really dominated them on the offensive end too.
Yeah, and for me, Evan, it was the start for the Hoosiers. 9 minutes into the game, you're down 27-8. There is no chance against a team like Arizona that you're going to be able to, erase that deficit maybe by 10, 8 points. They made it close, near the end of the second half, but Arizona controlled the game from tip to finish.
And then one of the biggest things is when Xavier Johnson was off the court, Indiana fell into a 13-point hole really early. Is X's play, is that going to navigate, and has his issues with ball control really been a bigger issue to worry about as we move forward, Hank?
Well, certainly Jalen Hood-Schifino not being on the floor has hurt the Hoosiers immensely. Great to see Xavier Johnson get 11 assists. Obviously, Indiana's been great, getting great looks from outside the arc and a lot of open shot opportunities. So Xavier Johnson needs to continue to pass the ball, but the loss of Jalen Hood-Schifino at this point in the season has been brutal for the Hoosiers to overcome.
Yeah, you nailed it with the loss of Jalen Hood-Schifino. Earlier this year, after a game, Mike Woodson said that he needs to try and make sure that Xavier isn't trying to do too much because they have players now, but missing the playmaking ability of Jalen Hood-Schifino has been huge. It looks like Xavier Johnson at times is trying to do too much, but his presence was really necessary in that Arizona game. He was really good at navigating the point guard position, and the drop off to Tamar Bates and Trey Galloway in that game, it was felt.
And Jalen Hood-Schifino, we know that he's missed the last 3 games with a back injury. We'll talk a little bit more about his status coming up, but well, let's move forward because that's exactly how Mike Woodson and his squad need to do as they take on the defending national champions in the number 8 Kansas Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow. With the Hoosiers dropping 2 of their last 3 games, Coach Woodson understands what's ahead against a Bill Self-coached team.
His teams always play hard. They do on both ends of the floor. And they got, Wilson and Dick that can really score the basketball. So we're going to have to go in there and commit to 40 minutes and do it on both ends of the floor and see what happens. I know one thing, we can't come out and start a game like we did against Arizona and dig a hole and expect to win.
Like Coach Woodson said, the Hoosiers cannot come out flat and in a hole. Otherwise, Kansas will run away with this game really early. Let's take a look at the opponent, the Kansas Jayhawks, who are coming off the border showdown against Missouri. And yeah, This one was as bad as you expected. A packed house in Missouri, but that didn't matter as Indiana, the Hoosiers, will have their hands full with this guy right here. It's Grady Dick. He goes up and under with a nice finish to get Kansas on the board early. And Dick, he could beat you about everywhere, but this time dishes to KJ Adams inside, who finished with 19, which was third on the team behind this guy, the leading scorer for the Jayhawks. Jalen Wilson finished with 24 and got nothing but net on this three to put the game away. Kansas with the road win, 95-67. Guys, we know this is going to be a tough battle, but Hank, what has to happen for Indiana to win this game tomorrow?
Straight up with you, Evan, Trace Jackson-Davis has to have 30 points. All right, you look at the Xavier game. This Kansas team does not have the front court depth to be able to guard a guy like Trace Jackson-Davis. Mike Woodson mentioned they're going to be double teaming him a lot. And with that, Trace Jackson-Davis has to find ways to put the ball in the basket. He is this team's best player by far, and when he goes, so too do the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I'll take it to a little bit more general level and just say the front court in general. Arizona had two guys that were at least 6'11". Kansas only has one guy that's 6'11", and he plays less than 10 minutes a game. Jalen Wilson is 6'8", and KJ Adams is 6'7". Race Thompson and Trace Jackson-Davis could have their way inside against those guys. And Malik Renew, if he can stay out of foul trouble, which has really plagued him recently, he could have a really nice role off the bench in this game.
And Josh, anyone else off the bench that needs to have a breakout game for Indiana to really win this?
Tamar Bates has been shooting the ball really well recently. Had a rough first half against Arizona, but really picked it up in the second half. Played really well against Nebraska as well last week. I think he's going to have to play really well and knock down some perimeter shots if they're going to have a chance to win this game.
And also to your point, Trey Galloway, somebody who's jumped in that starting. Hank, you want to jump in on Trey?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if we see Hood-Schifino, then the guy coming off the bench is probably going to have to be Trey Galloway. You see the way that Grady Dick can score the ball, the way he can pass the ball. He can do it all from the two-guard spot as a freshman. So if Trey Galloway, has to come in early, we'd have no idea what's going to happen with Hood-Schifino right now. Trey Galloway has to essentially play the defensive game of his life.
And to your point, Hank, we really don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Hood-Schifino, but Mike Woodson spoke earlier yesterday about it. Josh, what did he say?
Well, Jalen Hood-Schifino, he's gotten some shots up in practice. He's been moving a little bit, but Woodson said the game plan was for him to practice fully on Thursday, kind of get into a game flow, see if he can handle it in a real game setting.
Hank, so what does that mean? Is your expectation for Jalen to get on the court, or is he going to be out for a fourth game in a row?
No, I think we're going to see him in this game because just like Trace Jackson-Davis when he was dealing with the injury against UNC, these are the types of games that if you can go, you're going to go. No matter if you're playing at 60%, 70%, 80%, Indiana needs all the help they can get after watching after watching them dismantle Indiana. So I expect Jalen Hood-Schifino to play. How long, how much, how hard, we don't know. But I expect him to see some court time, maybe not starting.
And that would be a huge boost for Indiana, whether he gets 3 minutes or whether he gets a full 20. That decision is going to come out at some point today. Anyway, let's get into predictions. Everyone's favorite time. I know that we're all happy about this. Indiana, Kansas, a great matchup. Josh, what's your prediction? Who do you got to win and why?
Well, I think Kansas has the upper hand in the backcourt and at the guard position, and especially on the wings as well. But DeJuan Harris, he's really good at controlling the game. Grady Dick and Jalen Wilson, their playmaking capabilities, I think, are just a little bit too much. Indiana's got the upper hand in the front court, and I think they keep it close. But ultimately, Kansas is going to have an awesome environment inside Allen Fieldhouse. I think they get a win by 5 points or less.
Kansas at home, it's so tough. We know how hard it is to win here in Bloomington, and I can't wait to see how hard it's going to be to win in Lawrence. I'm going to go with Kansas by 7. Hank, bring us home.
Yeah, Kansas in 67 years at Allen Fieldhouse has lost 110 games. If you do that math, that's less than 2 games a season at home, and we're not even talking about, the seasons where they were the number 1 seed throughout. So Kansas has too many playmakers. It stinks to say, but that is just the truth. You look 1 to 6, they've got everybody that can score inside and out. Again, Trace Jackson-Davis has to play that type of game, but I don't see Indiana, defeating their road woes in this one on Saturday in a raucous environment. Give me Kansas by 10.
Wow, all 3 for Kansas, and we cover Indiana basketball. Who would have guessed that? But that's going to do it from here in Bloomington for the IUSTV Sports Basketball Pregame Show. Be sure to follow along with the 3 of us as we'll have a ton of coverage from Allen Fieldhouse. For Hank Joseph, Josh Bode, and our crew of Emma Watson and Andrew Briggs, I'm Evan Kamikow. Indiana and Kansas tips off tomorrow at noon. See you all in Lawrence.